Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Global Ed Student Chat. Today, we are so excited to bring the voices of all these students on our expert panel on a topic that is truly important right now. Excited. And we, with all the heaviness that's going on, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak about this topic with you. So welcome to everyone. You'll have a chance to meet them right now. Global Ed Student Chat, if you've never seen us or been with us before, is a student-led Twitter chat that connects K-12 students around the world to discuss topics and questions related to character education, social justice, and citizenship. Global Ed Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy-rich learning environment, and to experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and to establish a positive digital footprint. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to introduce Darcy, who will be explaining how to use our back channels in order to get involved.
Okay. So if you are watching us on YouTube, you may sign in with a Google account and use the chat to comment or ask a question. If you have Twitter, follow the hashtag #GlobalEdSSChat to read the ideas, thoughts, or questions shared by others. Use the hashtag to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. And feel free to share your first name and where in the world you are joining from today. If you ask questions, we will bring them to panel. And please remember that the audience for this chat is K-12. So your comments and questions should be appropriate for all ages.
Thank you so much, Darcy. And these are important ways for you to connect with us right now as well as afterwards. I'm going to ask our team member, Anahit, to introduce our expert on panel today.
I'm happy to introduce our expert on panel today, Ms. Lauren Muriello. She is a licensed psychotherapist from New Jersey and founder of the Well-Being Therapy Center. She has been helping children, families, couples, and individuals for over 10 years. Lauren received her undergraduate degree from Cornell University and completed her master's degree at Montclair State University, where she received the Dean's Leadership Award. Lauren has extensive experience working with children and their families, including assisting families in crisis, utilizing a short-term intensive therapy model. We are so grateful that she has volunteered to be here with us today and to talk about this important topic.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, everyone.
We're so grateful for you to be here. We really are. We have a big panel today, so I'm going to call on students to introduce themselves. And we will start with our top row. Jill.
Hi, my name's Jill, and I am from Salina High School in Texas, and I'm really happy to be here.
Hi, I'm from high school in New York, and I'm also super happy to be here.
School as well, and I'm also very happy to be here.
But maybe include what grade you're in and where that high school is. That would be great.
From in Holland, New York, and I'm 17. I'm a senior.
I'm also a senior.
I'm also a senior.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anahit. I go to Cardinal Carter, which is in Aurora, Ontario. I'm so excited to be chatting about this topic today, especially now. And I can't wait to hear everyone's opinions on this panel today.
Hi, my name is David. I'm also from Holland, New York. It's basically 40 minutes south of Buffalo, New York, to give you a reference to Western New York. And I'm also very excited to be talking today about a very important topic in this time period that we're in right now. So.
Hi, I'm Darcy. I'm in grade 9 and I attend GDCI, which is in the AMDSB School Board in Ontario. and I'm very excited to be chatting with everyone today on such an important topic.
I am Sam. I'm in grade 9. I go to LDSS in Listowel. That's part of the AMDSB school board as well.
I'm Emily. I am a senior from Holland High School in Holland, New York, and I'm also very eager to talk about this topic, which I believe is very important in this time of kind of crisis we're in right now. So yeah.
Absolutely. And we're so grateful to all of you for taking time out of your day and joining us from home. It is definitely a crazy time. We are going to move to Sam, who's going to go through our tweet and talk norms for the chat.
Yeah, so we'll have approximately 45 minutes to discuss all 4 of our questions. Please be mindful that this chat is open to kids in all ages, K to 12. We ask that active participation from classes or students, in this case, who are watching. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person.
Thank you. And those norms are really important. We suspect there are lots of people who are joining individually from their homes rather than with a class this time. And so please use those norms to speak respectfully to one another and to contribute your ideas. I should introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Casa-Todd. I'm a teacher librarian at Cardinal Carter Catholic High School in Aurora and one of the co-founders of the Global Ed Student Chat. And Mike, I'll throw it to you there.
Hi, thanks, Jen. Yeah, I'm Michael Drezick, a District Technology Integration Specialist at Lakeshore CSD in Angola, New York. Feeling for the seniors out there in this time. I think this is such an important topic. And yet again, another amazing way that technology can connect us in this time. So we look forward to today's Tweet and Talk.
Absolutely. And just to let everyone know, we have Mr. Drezick, Michael, who's going to be checking out the YouTube chat and bringing questions in. And Sam is going to be taking a look at the hashtag Global Ed Student Chat and bringing in some of the conversations. Because we are such a big group, we may not get to all of the questions and comments, but please know that we will make an attempt to answer your questions over the course of the week and the month. So let's get started with the first question.
Yeah, so today's first question is, how do you assess your own well-being, happiness, and wellness?
I look at 3 things when I'm assessing certain aspects of, how do I assess my well-being and happiness? I assess three things. Is what I'm doing productive? And if it's not, why is it not productive? Did I get enough sleep? And have I eaten? A lot of the time, if you are not being productive, it's usually you don't have enough sleep, or there's something that's conflicting you internally that is prohibiting you from being productive. So I always look at, am I being productive? And if the answer is no, then I search for what the answer is and why I'm not.
For me, I make sure that whenever, especially with school and with everything, I make sure that I don't burn myself out. And I make sure to keep a balance with everything. I think that's really important, not to just focus on one aspect of your life like school. I think it's important to have a balance of everything in order to keep a good mental state, to have good mental health. I think it's absolutely essential to have that good balance.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that's been said. I feel like the biggest thing when I'm assessing my well-being is to not judge how I'm feeling, because I feel like if I'm feeling like angry or stressed, by me judging my emotions, it's not going to help the situation. I just want to experience the emotions and welcome them, because everyone experiences emotions and it's okay to feel how you feel. And when you do that, it's easier to learn what you can do to be happier and what your emotions truly feel like. So yeah.
Thank you, friends. Does anyone else want to put in their perspective before we call on Lauren?
So do you want me to chime in here? So first of all, it's so great to meet all of you, and it's wonderful to be here to be a part of this amazing program. I love this question about assessing our mental health. Jennifer, will you read the question to me again? What was the original question?
Go ahead, Darcy.
Oh, Darcy, please.
Okay, let me just pull it out. How do you assess your own well-being? Happiness/wellness.
Yeah. I love that it's about how you assess your well-being. And I love hearing what all of you have been sharing. When I think about assessing well-being, I want to suggest that everyone thinks about what is sort of their own red flag that their brain or their mind sends out to warn you that you're starting to not feel your best, right? So everyone has different things. Like sometimes it might be that you start yelling at someone you love, or it might be that, you were supposed to get up and do some chores or do some homework and you're still lying in bed scrolling through Instagram, right? Or maybe it's that you're thinking really negative thoughts about yourself. The key is to become self-aware of those personal red flags and catch yourself and say, I'm doing that right now. I'm yelling at someone I care about in my home, or I'm still dragging my feet and I'm like procrastinating on what I'm supposed to do. If you can have the awareness and catch yourself and say, uh-oh, something's not right, now you can make the change, right? So I always love suggesting, figure out for yourself, what is the sign that you're not feeling so great? And then you can have these wonderful, healthy ways of feeling better, getting good rest, eating well, talking to a friend, taking a walk, whatever it is that works for you. But the assessment part of this question is what's so interesting. And I encourage everyone to figure that out for yourself. What's the red flag sign that you give yourself that things are moving in the wrong direction? And then that's when you can take action and change.
Thank you, Lauren. And that's such a really good point, because we need to take a look at ourselves. We may not have teachers or parents right now, given the situation, that will help us along the way. So we really appreciate that. We will, unless someone has something to add or ask Lauren from that question, we'll move on. I'll get Darcy to move on to the second. Anyone want to jump in with something that maybe Lauren has?
I just want to ask for everyone out there, how do you know what your red flags are? Because sometimes people just don't know when their mental health is taking a dip. So how do you really figure that out?
That's a wonderful question. And do you want me to share my thoughts on that? Everyone, is that the idea? Yeah, great. Okay. So, a lot of times people in your life that love you, like parents, friends, will give you feedback. And sometimes it's really hard to hear that. But if you're getting the same message from a lot of people in your life, there's a good chance that that's a red flag, right? So if your parents saying, you seem really quick to get angry lately, and your friends might say like, whoa, you seem angry, right? So now maybe it's when I get angry, that I'm starting to, not be at my best. So I always like to have you look for feedback from people that you trust, not the people that are just kind of, don't know you so well, or, ignore the mean comments on social media, but people that you really trust and love, and ask them for feedback and trust their feedback.
I think you also know you better than a lot of people will know you. And you really need to look at like how you limit, like what your limit is, because if you're constantly, pushing yourself beyond that limit, not like growing yourself, I'm talking like you can't go anymore, but you keep going, then you need to assess, okay, where are my limits? How am I gonna help myself be able to stay within those limits, but also grow at the same time? And I think taking a minute to step back and assess your situation will help a lot with that.
That's so beautiful. And Jill, for you, how do you know when you've hit your limit? Like, do you experience something?
For me personally, I suffer from anxiety. So when I push myself over a long period, usually it's a long period of time, and I'm not taking the time to step back and take a breath and let out what I feel, I have a trigger that I end up feeling paranoid, or I can't get something handled and I am not productive. Like it takes me hours to do homework when it should only take me 30 minutes. It's stuff like that. It's when my productivity goes down. So that's why my assessment is, am I being productive? If not, why not? Why am I not being productive?
Beautiful. Such good self-awareness and wisdom for everyone out there. Thanks, Jill.
No problem.
Thank you so much, Darcy. We will move into our next question unless Michael or Sam, were there any comments from Twitter or YouTube to bring in? Not at this time? Perfect. Okay, so Darcy, let's bring it to question number 2.
Sure. So the second question is, what is the relationship between mental health and physical health?
Can I jump into this one? Okay, so I have a lot in this one actually, because something like in the past year that I've experienced is I wasn't very good with my physical health, so it was affecting my mental health, but I thought it was just my mental health, so it was really confusing. And so I can relate to this pretty personally. Not only when you eat and you exercise and stuff do you feel better, but like it shows, like your personality kind of blossoms and stuff. And I did some digging and I found out that the World Health Organization actually defines health, just the term health, as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So even the World Health Organization recognizes that it's not just physical health, it's mental health, everything. And there are some studies out there that proves this. So with people that struggle with mental health, it appears in chronic conditions, or basically 3 months or longer. So for example, conditions like asthma, cancer, arthritis, those are some of those chronic conditions. For example, in these studies, people with serious mental health conditions are at a lot higher risk of experiencing these chronic physical conditions. And then vice versa, people with chronic physical conditions also are at a high risk of developing poor mental health. So these two go hand in hand, and these studies that I've found and stuff actually really show that this is true. And it's not just mental health and physical health and social health are all in their separate thing. They all work together hand in hand. And these studies are finding that if one of these areas is lacking, the rest of the piece, or I guess the puzzle almost falls apart kind of thing.
Great.
I agree with everything that David said. I feel like you summed it up pretty well, but I just wanted to say, I just feel like you can't really have mental or physical health without the other. I feel like taking care of your body with eating well and getting exercise and movement every day. I know that can be kind of difficult in times like this where we're kind of isolated in our own houses, but you can always just go outside and walk around your yard. And honestly, I feel like even the littlest bit of movement just throughout your day, that can definitely have a big impact on your mental and physical health as well, because it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it kind of keeps your sanity in check, and you're not just, I feel like isolating yourself in your house is kind of isolating yourself in your mind, so you kind of have to get away from that, and that's really important.
For me personally, I work out to keep myself, the chemicals in my brain, like that is directly correlated to how you think, and physical activity directly correlates those chemicals. So when I work out, it keeps those chemicals at reasonable levels, so that when I sleep or when I sit down and do schoolwork, I'm more productive because I've gotten a good night's sleep. I think a really important thing that I think a lot of people are starting to realize is the inactivity from being home prevents you from burning off certain energy, so that when you go to sleep, you keep waking up in the middle of the night. It's because you haven't done anything to exercise yourself or anything to keep those levels in your brain stable. So you think that you're awake because you've conserved so much energy throughout the day. And I think there's definitely a direct correlation to productivity and your mental state of being and how you physically keep up with yourself and what you eat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really love everything that everybody's been saying. I kind of have some personal experiences, just that sometimes I'll get red flags and I'll really try to think, there's nothing going on in my life that should be making me feel stressed or sad. I'm thinking it's not homework or like I don't know, anything like really significant. But then I'll kind of take a step back and realize like I haven't really been moving a lot or eating well. And I'm like, that is almost definitely why, or even like drinking enough water, like all the basic like health things. And for an English paper that I wrote at the beginning of the year, I was doing research similar to what David was talking about. And yeah, it's pretty surprising how much they do go hand in hand, because I think that it's always just like an endless loop of like just treating yourself well, and that leading to thinking better thoughts. So yeah.
It's so wonderful. I'll chime in if that's okay. Or was someone going to share something else? I'll chime in. It's so amazing. I think, I work with teenagers, in my work as a psychotherapist. I've been working with teenagers for 20 years. And I have to say, your generation right now is just incredibly self-aware and smart. And it's just so amazing to hear you talk about this mind-body connection. There's so much, evidence that supports mind-body connection. So we know that it's, scientific. I'm often coming at it from the perspective of mental health. So how can we use physical health to support mental health? And I love what I'm hearing, Jill and David and Emily and Maddie talk about in terms of taking care of your physical health, exercise, eating right, making sure you're drinking enough water, breathing the fresh air is another really important one. There's some wonderful research now about, ecotherapy, it's called, which is basically like the most basic connection that we should all be familiar with, which is that when humans go outside, we feel better. We breathe the fresh air, we see the leaves and hear the birds, and that's really important too. So especially during this time of quarantining, it's so important to go outside and do exercise, even just taking a brisk walk, with a friend. I've had teenagers tell me, I'm walking on the sidewalk, my friend's walking in the street, but we're walking around and moving our bodies. I think the other thing I'd like to share is that giving your brain a break from thinking and stressing out is really important, right? And so if you've practiced some mindfulness or, simple kinds of meditation, even just 3 minutes a day. And to be honest, that's what my daily practice is. It's like 3 to 5 minutes that I just make sure I sit down and I set a timer and I make sure I turn my brain off as best as I can. It's really hard to do that, but I just try to focus on the sounds around me, on my breathing. You could listen to music if that helps you, but give your brain a break from thinking and worrying, because most of the time we're thinking and worrying about things that either happened in the past or haven't happened yet. But if we allow ourselves to truly be in the present moment, that's what mindfulness is, right? Then we can turn off those circuit ways and pathways that sometimes get stuck in that anxiety and stress mode. So I really encourage you, go on YouTube or Headspace or Calm app. There's all these great guided meditations. Maybe some of you have used them. To do a little short daily brain break, and you're going to see combining that with the physical exercise is really equaling well-being. So I hope you'll all try that.
I just want to say that there's this quote that says, if you stress about something before it happens, you're living through it twice. So that's one of my favorite quotes, because it just reminds me not to worry about things before they've happened. So I just like to live the moment as it comes and not worry about anything too soon.
That's such a great quote to remind everyone. It's so true. I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
One thing I can add in is I know, like, I've been talking to a lot of people through like texting and everything, because obviously we can't really go out with other people anymore. But so many people, so like the thing that you were talking about, how like giving your brain a break and everything, so many people, since we're on this break and everything, they think, oh, I'm gonna give my brain a break, I'm gonna go on social media and everything. And I know how so many people who are like on their phones at like 12 o'clock and they can't go like get to bed till like 3 o'clock, and then they're like, oh, why am I so tired, and they end up sleeping in, and like the whole entire cycle just keeps going. And I'm like a victim to this too. Like I've been sleeping in a lot, and then just I can't fall asleep at night, wonder why. Dog, like I wake up so late. But I feel like so many people are thinking, okay, I'm gonna go get like physical activity, which is great and everything, but I I've been running and stuff too, but it's only on like my certain roads. Like I'm not like driving out to different places. So I've just been thinking, oh, I'm kind of like in my area. So like I think Jill said with the conserved energy, I think that's what maybe she said. Like I totally understand that because I don't get out anywhere. So I feel like I'm just kind of like trapped in my own world. And that really kind of affects everything, I think, with like the brain getting like enough rest and everything.
Right, right.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I think that brings us really nicely into our third question. If you are watching us on Twitter, you will notice that the conversation is so rich with such great sharing that our scheduled tweets might not be aligning. So we apologize for that, but hopefully we will get back on track. We might be a little over time this week, but it's such an important topic and such good sharing that we feel good with that. So with that, Darcy, why don't you bring us into question 3?
Yeah, so the third question is, what are some strategies you use to manage stress and reset your sense of well-being?
Can I jump in right now? Okay, so one thing that I've been doing every night is I create a schedule for the next day, and I feel like scheduling what you are going to do throughout the next day, I feel like that manages your stress well, so then you don't find your mind drifting like, oh, what should I do next? And you kind of get overwhelmed with a lot of things that you feel like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, that it just kind of gets all jumbled in your brain, and then you get more stressed out because of all these things that you have to do. But like right here, like I made this last night. It's just everything that I have planned to do today, and it's just nice, and it's kind of rewarding to see yourself checking off things on your list that you have said that you wanted to do. And then at night, you just kind of do it again. And it's kind of relaxing so that you know that the next day you're going to have a nice set plan. And that's really important right now when we're not in school or anything, which is school kind of helps keep a schedule. But now that we don't have that, we have to kind of schedule our own day rather than relying on school with that.
Can I say something really quick? So also I just read the question about what we're doing right now to balance physical health, which is kind of wrapped into this one. Like I was saying before, like now there is something like significant that's weighing on a lot of people, especially all of us seniors. And coping with that is not easy, but doing things like keeping things in order and also exercise. I've been doing that every morning because it helps clear my brain. And yeah, keeping a schedule, and I play music a lot on like my guitar, and that really helps me de-stress because it just feels good. So yeah, that's like a lot of answers I was trying to give in for multiple questions, but yeah, it all kind of ties in.
I know as we're talking, resetting ourselves, one of the questions that connects to that came through on the YouTube live was from Julie. And what are some ways that we can support a friend who might be having a hard time mentally during this time of social distance? I know that you students are connected socially still during this time, but any advice from anybody? I know that wasn't one of our 4 questions, but I think it's a great one on maybe how you could support someone in need. I don't know if anyone wants to just chime in on that. And then we can keep things moving along, but it's a great question. Thank you, Julie, on YouTube.
Yeah, I could chime into that one. So this is part of what I was going to say for the third question anyways. So in this time, just because we're separated doesn't mean we can't pick up the phone and call someone and just talk to them. I mean, it's not the same as face-to-face. You can do FaceTime too, so it's not like you're limited, but it's not face-to-face, but it's still a voice. So they still have like that social connection. That's something we can do now, especially is just talking to people, reaching out to people. There's a website, I don't know if I might butcher the name, but it's like L Friends. And from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. or midnight, every day, you can reach out if you're struggling and you can talk to people online, either professionals or just other people having the same issues like you and that are struggling during this time, because it's especially difficult for social people or just anyone in general that is social, because as humans, we're social. So we want to go out and talk to people and make those connections, but we can't unless you're doing it over the phone or FaceTime. Something else, this isn't necessarily to this time because obviously we can't go out, but volunteering is some way to help. Some people write down, they have mood diaries are what they called. So people, when they get really frustrated or upset, they just write out everything that they're feeling, whatever, write it in a book. Some people like to keep it, others like to just throw it away after they're done. So they feel like they've written everything negative down and they throw it away and it's gone. It's all that type of stuff. So some people like that. And again, this is kind of difficult because of the time we're in, but therapists, don't be afraid to reach out, because there are people out there that are professional at helping you to get and feel better, because this is not easy and you're not alone in this struggle. So there are people out there that will help you, and they will just really help, because even more so than just if you're not understanding or not getting that social connection from just your friends because they don't understand or something, you don't feel like they don't understand. The therapists, I know there are some online sessions too that can help you. So just some options, especially during this time.
Piggybacking off of David really quick, when you said like pick up the phone and FaceTime, I've just been thinking about this a lot. I feel like our whole generation is all about texting, and we forget like face-to-face like communication. So when we actually go up to people, we just don't know how to talk. So I feel like this is the perfect time where we can actually like learn how to do that again, because we're so obsessed with texting, and that's just awful. So we should totally get back to actually learning how to talk again. I just wanted to add that in there. I feel like that's the perfect time to learn.
Thank you. Darcy, did you want to pipe in?
Yeah, just to add to I know Julie had that question from Twitter, I think it was. I know I've definitely felt like that friend that, it's been hard. I feel like I'm a very social person, and it is hard to not see your friends all the time and be at school. And yesterday was my birthday and I didn't get to see any of my friends, which kind of made me kind of sad. But we decided that instead of because obviously we can't go out and stuff, we decided instead we were gonna play a board game online together. So I feel like our generation is really good at finding ways to use technology to help connect us, even though it's like Sarah was saying, not always the most effective and for our social skills and stuff. But we were able to all get together, and I was able to see my grandparents too, and we were able to FaceTime. And I wanted to say I feel like I'm very grateful for having those apps and people who have created those things to help bond us, even though it is a hard time. Because I know that was hard for me, and it's probably hard for a lot of other people that are experiencing similar things. And yeah.
Happy birthday, Darcy.
Thanks.
That's, you all have such great ideas, and it's true, when you see someone's face, even if it's on FaceTime or Zoom or House Party or one of these apps, and you see facial expressions that go along with the tone of voice, it actually triggers a certain part of your brain that's connected to emotions and mood. So seeing facial expressions is really important, and not just reading the text only. So I love what you're saying, Sarah and all of you, about this. Make sure that you are doing some kind of face-to-face, even if it's using technology with friends. The other thing that I've heard from some teenagers is that if their parents allow, they're driving over to people's homes, maybe if it's someone's birthday, staying outside of the house, but honking the horn and screaming from the windows, and just having people see that you care and you're there, I think can help. So maybe if you have a friend that's feeling particularly down and they're struggling with getting their mood up, maybe a few friends can plan to drive over, not get out of the car, but just honk the horn and smile and give a lot of love in that way. I think that could be helpful, because it's all about connection. And the final thing I'll say about this is, I think it's really important to schedule the connection into your day. I love that those of you are talking about being so organized and making a schedule for your next day. Like I know Emily shared, it is so good for your mental health. So schedule in some fun time, like fun with friends or family, and make sure that you do that, because the other thing that can happen when we're, in this quarantine situation is every hour can just roll into the next hour, and you never got out of your sweatpants and you're just not sure, what happened with the day. So make sure you set aside a time where I'm not going to do schoolwork or I'm not going to do chores. I'm just going to have fun. And I think your parents will get that too. You can ask them if there's a specific time where that works well for them, and you can all do things as a family.
I just want to add really quickly, I know that Emily said the schedule, and Lauren as well. Having a schedule is proven, and time blocking it's called, to get you more productive. And when you wake up with a schedule, you wake up with a purpose, and you know what your purpose is going to be for that day. Not waking up with a purpose can get you really lazy, can get you to procrastinate on everything, and can really weigh down on your mental health. So I always use a to-do list or schedule to help me find my purpose for that day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly add on to what Darcy said. Our generation has been practicing social distancing forever. It's the older generation, like our grandparents, that we really need to make sure we get in contact with, because they're the ones that are going to be worrying about their grandkids. So you really got to make sure, like, FaceTime your grandparents or have a Zoom meeting with your grandparents. Those are the connections that are really important, and they are going to remember that. And that is something you should definitely try to do at least once a week, is to get in contact with your grandparents and your cousins and all of that as well.
That is an awesome way to leave off with this question, Sam. Thank you for that contribution. Darcy, you're trying to figure out, we're going to sing happy birthday to you at the end of this Zoom. We're trying to figure out if we can have a parade for you, but we're all from different places. But happy birthday. And can we, do you want to tell us what question 4 is?
Yes, I can do that. The last question is, what can you do in your community to jumpstart the conversation about mental health?
So I'd like to jump in on this one. I live in a community where a lot of people don't talk about how they feel because, you know, it's not cool, or they want to make, you know, everything look really good and really happy and nothing's wrong, nothing's going on at all. And I think really because of the atmosphere that I live in, I show a lot of genuine interest when I ask somebody how they are, because I'm very specific with, not necessarily cliquish with who I talk to, but I usually go up to the person who's sitting alone and I ask them, how are you? And if you ask somebody genuinely and you look like you're genuinely interested in how they are and how they feel, then they will tell you. They will spill their whole life story to you without you even having to really ask any more questions, because they're so deprived of that question and that genuine atmosphere for them to feel safe to speak. And I think also listening is very important as well when it comes to communication, because if somebody, you know, lets out their feelings once and then you don't listen, or somebody doesn't listen to them, then they are most likely not going to do it again. So I think a really important part of creating that atmosphere is creating an atmosphere of genuine listening and genuine care for each other in a community.
I agree, and actually going off of what Jill said, it just starts with one person, just reaching out to someone. For example, yesterday I just reached out to a friend that I haven't talked to in a while and just said, "How are you doing?" And they just kind of spilled like, "Well, not that great. Like I'm struggling with being alone, like away from everyone," and they still had to work, and so they were experiencing it front lines, all the panic and stuff, so they were getting really worried and stuff like that. But made the day just by reaching out and saying, "How are you?" Because it showed that someone cared, and they didn't have that person in their life. So it just starts doing the little things. And then another thing I was going to add in, I actually kind of looked up, because I have no idea, like I kind of wanted to get an idea of our community or whatever, what are things that you can do. So I just looked up online, just for my area, where Buffalo, New York is the closest city to my area. So I looked up just Buffalo, New York closest, or mental health things that like, or fairs or whatever you want to call it. And I found a bunch that I didn't even know about. All I had to do was click on on the first tab that was there, showed me a map of every single thing, the date, the time, everything you needed to know. And there were some things I didn't even think about, like there's 5Ks to support the mental health organizations. There's youth mental health first aid training. There's social distancing support groups. And then I found out that most of the events are free too. So there's no cost to go to them, and they're right in your community. And all you have to do is look up and go to one of them. And who knows what happens when you go to the first one. I mean, it could just lead to like, oh, wow, there are people out there. It's your mind's open, you can fully see it and understand. And I think that's something that I didn't even know about, that I had to look up. But once I looked up, it's so easy. You can find them right there in the community. So.
I know that Sam just brought in one of the questions from Tisha Poncio, who asked about the best advice for parents right now and the ways we can support our kids. So based on what David just shared, and I know one of the reasons we invited Lauren to the panel is the way that she's supporting youth and parents. So maybe now's a good time, Lauren, for you to share and maybe address that question too.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Yeah, I think parents right now have to be creative with both engaging kids in a healthy, structured atmosphere, but also being really flexible with their emotional states and well-being. I think, whether you have young kids, tweens or teenagers, at some point, an emotional outburst or meltdown is going to happen. Sometimes it might be over something that seems trivial, like a broken nail, or like you don't have any, of my favorite cookies left over. But probably what's happening is the buildup of emotional distress from this entire situation, which is stressful and challenging for everyone. And there's grief going on. We're grieving the loss of connection, of seeing each other daily, possibly of vacations, of birthday parties, of all these things that often keep our lives, filled with hope and excitement. So first of all, parents need to be very flexible. And I think if a teenager or child is expressing a lot of emotions, you really want to resist the urge to problem solve right away. Instead of trying to, I'll buy you another box of cookies, or here's something to fix it, to first sit with them and just give them that space. And I think, Jill and David were also sharing about having that open ear for whoever needs to talk. Just sit with them and give them the space. And we call it validating. So validate their feelings. I understand that you are feeling upset. This is hard. Do you want to tell me more? And then just wait and give them that space to talk and share. With teenagers in particular, I like to recommend, after they've had a chance to share, ask them if they want your help, because they might not. If they want your help, then you can offer some ideas, for solutions. But they might just need to talk and vent, and that's really important. So parents need to create the space for healthy, open communication and conversations. It might be at the end of the day, if parents are working from home and cleaning up the kitchen and ordering groceries, and at the end of the day, if you hadn't checked in with your child yet, sit on the end of their bed and just ask them the question, what's happening for you today? How's it going? And I think that can lead to a lot of open communication. And often that's all that needs to happen in order to release some of those challenging emotions and create a sense of love and connection. So just give lots of love and open ears. And that's the foundation for, the emotional well-being that we need to foster right now.
Can you also, Lauren, share with the listeners and the viewers? I know about this because we spoke last week, but can you share about the live stream opportunity that you're offering for teenagers?
Absolutely. So one of the programs that I launched in response to all of this, it's called Talk About Real Things Live. And it is similar to the format here in that we are calling upon teens, mature, kind, wise teenagers to share their feedback. And so weekdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, any teenager from anywhere in the US and Canada can log on as a viewer, and no one would see or hear you, but you could submit your questions. And then I have pre-selected teen mentors to come on as panelists. I bring them on live during the stream. I read an anonymous question from one of our teen viewers, and then they get a chance to answer the question and give their feedback. And so we're creating and building this really positive community for teens to join and have their voices heard, and a very positive network for the teen mentors. And so anyone's welcome to find that daily at talkaboutrealthings.com, and you register. You have to register to be able to join. So there is, a layer of safety there, and I monitor it and facilitate it. It's really been a wonderful experience for everyone so far, and I'm actually posting some of the best teen mentor quotes and feedback on the Instagram feed so that we can kind of keep track of all this great advice we're getting. So I hope you'll all join that as well.
I just wanted to kick off of what you were saying with the parents from a student perspective and from specifically a senior perspective. I'm about to enter a point in my life where I have to figure out and assess on my own. And sometimes there's not always going to be someone there to listen to what I have to say and for me to vent. And I think that problem solving aspect, I have been fortunate enough to have parents who listen, but also problem solve with me. And I've grown up to have that tool and utilize that tool to problem solve on my own. now that I'm even as a senior, not even as like a full, thrown into the adult world, I've learned how to problem solve within myself because of my parents. And I think it's very specific. And I think parents around the world could take this advice and really utilize it and be really great with their kids and prepare their kids, empower their kids to do their own self-assessment and their own self-help when it comes to certain things. But of course, there's things out there where parents, if you don't understand you don't understand how to communicate that with your kid, or you don't have that foundation built, seek help. Like it's not embarrassing for you to go to a counselor and say, how do I talk to my kid about this? Or can you help facilitate this conversation because it needs to be, had. So I think the three things that really come along with being that way are for parents specifically, talking to seniors specifically, it's helping, validating their feelings, listening to them, and then helping them problem solve through that so that when they're on later, they'll know how to do it themselves. That's all I wanted to say.
I totally agree with you. And one thing I would also say is, since we are seniors and everything, I think with us going into college, this voluntary quarantine and kind of break off of school is really helping us prepare, because usually we're doing all of our homework with like the teachers, and we're always getting help from the teachers. And now we kind of have to take a break from that and do everything on our own. So I feel like it is kind of helping us like understand what we have to do as individuals to like grow, especially during like our college years, because most everything in college is like sectioned off to like yourself, like self-help, learn how to encourage yourself better to like do stuff, and like we said with like schedules and everything. So this is kind of really helping us. As much as it stinks to have no social contact, it's really helping us and developing us to be like better people for college. I think that's what I was gonna say.
Beautiful. I love that you're seeing the positive and finding, that perspective.
And we do have younger viewers. We might have someone in grade 4. So what are some of maybe listening to these seniors might invoke you to find a mentor or an older person who you might connect with as well. Unless there's any other advice for the younger people. I know we have Darcy and Sam who are younger. And maybe that's something that we can think about as we continue our conversation. So with that, Michael.
Hi, sorry, I was just posting something to Lauren's site in the Twitter chat there. But yes, thank you everyone for tuning in today. There's a lot of great activity happening on Twitter. The slow chat's going to continue all month. Special thanks to Emily, Sarah, and David from Holland. Special thanks to Jill, who joined in from Texas, our student team of Darcy, Anahit, and Sam. Please keep the conversation going by answering our slow chat for the rest of the month. Use the hashtag GlobalEdSSChat so that our team can continue to interact with you. You can follow us on social media, on Twitter at GlobalEdSSChat, or at our website at globaledstudentchat.com. Lauren, can you share how we might be able to connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can find me at wellbeingtherapycenter.com or talkaboutrealthings.com, and feel free to send me an email. I love hearing from teenagers and parents and anyone that wants to, create positive connection and community through the supportive programs that we're doing.
Excellent. And we posted the link to the sessions in Twitter and in the YouTube chat. So also we encourage people to watch for details on next month's chat, which will be posted on our website on the 1st of the month. Next month's chat is scheduled to take place on May 12th. So we hope that you will join us. Please note, we're also currently recruiting members of our student leadership team and our social media ambassador program. Feel free to DM us for more information. Thanks again for joining us from wherever in the world you joined us from. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you online.
And thanks to Maddie too. Thank you, everyone.